Aloha, members of the County Council. My name is Keone Dela Cruz. I was hired as an animal protection officer prior to the county contract being terminated. I am also a 16-year disabled combat veteran of the United States Army in the Persian Gulf War and a 12-year retired federal law enforcement officer with the Department of Defense. My testimony today is about the operations and staffing of the shelter on the east side of Hawaii. There are 3 points about when Best Friends took over. Local contractors hired in East Hawaii were pushed out and replaced. There was a hostile work environment when I was accused multiple times of issues that were not relayed to me and without due course. There were lots of complaints from the public and internally which went unaddressed. There were multiple contractual violations which the HRR leadership were not informed about. I began with HRR in August of 2020. In October, Best Friends came in and the people in leadership when I started were pushed out or resigned. Mary Rose and Sylvia Dolena were the only ones who stayed, as well as myself and others, to do the job of animal control. The contractor staff did the best they could with the tools, systems, and equipment they had to work with. We, the East Side contractors, logged 22 separate issues regarding phone system, call logging system, lack of communications, lack of protocols, lack of staffing, and lack of training. These were presented to Best Friends operations leadership, running animal control operations. We were told they were working on it. Those were never fixed. Best Friends then started bringing their staff from the mainland to assist in operations and ended up firing the Kona shelter manager and proceeded to begin replacing others, including Dolena. Many others quit. When the badging class on May 7th was completed, in which we only had received 8 hours of training, only 8 of us were actual APOs, and the rest were management and kennel techs, who never intended to go on the road. There were 15 people needed to have the training. When I asked about the extra officers to work in the field, I was told the other attendees only filled the spots so we could get the training. I questioned Best Friends operations leadership, and they said it had to be done to get the training. At that point, because I reported this, I was accused of many complaints, including confiscating some puppies, which was an officer assist call, and HPD officer asked me to confiscate. I was put on suspension. When I reported these badging issues to HR leadership, I was on suspension. Just after that, I was accused of sexual harassment by Best Friends operation leadership. The HR leadership conducted an investigation and cleared me of the accusations. There was blatant and subtle racist type discrimination from Best Friends operations leadership. While the APOs on the west side were promoted to shelter manager for the Kona and Waimea shelter, on the east side, APOs were continuously chastised. Prior to being placed on suspension, I interviewed for shelter manager for Kipimana.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dela Cruz. If you could just wrap up your testimony, please.
Sure. So, following June 9th meeting with HPD, there was an inspection by HPD. A list of items to correct was given to the leadership. On June 28th, a second meeting. On June 28th, a second meeting informed HR leadership that the contract was being terminated, and we had to transfer everything over to the new animal control, taking over at 5 p.m. on June 30th. Many good and hardworking workers are now losing their jobs because of this. I strongly recommend that a full investigation be conducted regarding the issues resulting in the termination of the animal control contract. Mahalo.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank you. Real quick, for the testifiers today, you will have 3 minutes to share your mana'o. With 30 seconds remaining, you will hear a bell, and that is your signal to summarize your thoughts. Mahalo. Ready?
Thank you, Chair. Your next testifier for your meeting today is Sylvia Dolena. Sylvia, if you could please unmute your mic and start providing your testimony. You have 3 minutes starting now.
Aloha, council members. I'm Sylvia Dolena, and I'm a business consultant and a former HRR contractor. Sorry, I'm having a problem with my computer. Sorry. I'm also a co-founder of Aloha Animal Advocates. First, I would like to acknowledge all of the animal welfare nonprofits and volunteers who stepped up to help the transition of animals who are sheltering in place, the stray animals, providing lost and found services, and are vigilant about ensuring animals are not sacrificed in this sudden termination of the animal control contract. I will focus on 2 points in my testimony regarding forward-looking and learnings. One is HRR internal conflict over no-kill versus kill models and the organizational structure of HRR. There's a huge misunderstanding of the no-kill model causing overcrowded shelters. There were 2 factions in HRR. One of those factions supported killing for space. There was an internal sabotage that occurred to block foundational programs needed to be implemented that would support no-kill. In this conflict, there were many programs that could have supported the no-kill foundation, yet those were canceled, implemented, blocked, whatever you want to say. Those were not implemented by the staff who was in rebellion. Additionally, the operations leadership, and this was the Best Friends operations leadership, had a specific agenda because of their foundational values. They had an agenda to undermine the no-kill numbers and the no-kill foundation. This is really disastrous for the animals. They did not have any programs to move animals out of the shelters. They did not have any programs to transition animals into permanent situations. The little bit that they did not do enough, yet they blocked every attempt to move animals out and to keep animals safe. So with this, we know that the kill model does not work. The County of Hawaii has tried this for 25 years, and it did not work, because if it worked, we would be done. There are 5,500 communities in the U.S. that are successful no-kill models. Annika OPE and Tina Bounds and I did massive research for 2 years, from 2016 to 2018, to work with the national organizations.
Hello? I'm
Yes.
sorry, Sylvia. If you could please
Yes.
wrap up your testimony, please.
Yes. I am calling for a full investigation on the issues regarding the sudden termination of the animal control contract. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Chair, your next testifier is Lanny Sinkin. Lanny, if you could please unmute your mic and provide your testimony. You have 3 minutes starting now.
Aloha, members of the County Council. I am Lanny Sinkin, and I am testifying on Communication 301. I am one of the founders of Rainbow Friends Animal Sanctuary more than 20 years ago. I have not been part of the Rainbow Friends operation for quite some time. In April, I did join the executive leadership team of Hawaii Rainbow Rangers, known as HRR, doing business as Rainbow Friends Animal Sanctuary, created to implement the county animal control contract. Frankly, the last 2 months have been a nightmare. A key element of that nightmare was learning about the management failures and harmful and possibly illegal actions of the HRR Director of Operations, a person paid by Best Friends Animal Society in Utah to be embedded in HRR. As soon as those failures and actions became clear, Rainbow Rangers acted quickly to terminate the arrangement with Best Friends and remove their personnel. That action on the part of HRR caused other staff members to quit, creating a staffing crisis. Another key element of the nightmare was the avalanche of allegations delivered to the mayor, the police chief, and others regarding HRR's performance. Some of those allegations came from within the organization and clearly had a goal of destroying Rainbow Friends' reputation. I have provided you with a copy of the recovery plan developed at the request of the county to address allegations made against Rainbow Friends and provide remedial steps where justified. The county renewed the animal control contract with Rainbow Friends and then abruptly announced the contract would not be renewed. There was no visible process by which that decision was made. I am fairly sure that few, if any, of those involved in the decision not to renew truly considered the recovery plan. At the same time, a small group of people launched a campaign to destroy Rainbow Friends' reputation in the community. The HPD determination not to renew the contract with HRR was based on attacks that we never really had a chance to defend against. Front page newspaper stories appearing to legitimize the allegations, again without our having an opportunity to defend ourselves. Now we see our accusers rewarded by being hired by the HPD to supervise a transition from Rainbow Friends to some other entity as yet unnamed. Here's a small taste of what we've had to deal with. Our chief accuser, Michael Orr, came to the Kipimana facility one day, even though he was assigned to another facility and had no business being there. He walked around taking pictures of the Rainbow Rangers operations. I asked him why he was there and taking pictures. He brushed me off and pointed out dogs outside without any cover and no water bowl. I informed him that those dogs had been put outside in a temporary fenced area while their kennel was being cleaned. He was only interested in making a case against HRR by documenting dogs without shelter or water. Our recently hired chief of operations ordered Mr. Orr off the property. Mr. Orr at first refused to leave. Our chief of operations then fired him based on his overall performance and his clear intent to discredit HRR. At that point, Mr. Orr attempted to organize a walkout by the staff at the shelter where he was assigned. He had no concern that a successful effort on his part would leave the animals without any shelter personnel to care for them. While fortunately 2 staff members refused to leave, Mr. Orr told them that they would regret that decision. When I recently visited the Kipimana facility, Mr. Orr was present with Regina Serrano, the person hired by the county to supervise the transition. Apparently, Mr. Orr is also being brought in to implement the transition. Yes.
Sorry, if you could please summarize your testimony, please.
Actually, I have one sentence left.
Okay.
Apparently, Mr. Orr is also being brought in to implement the transition. If that is the transition being implemented, I can only express my deep concern that you are making a terrible mistake. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Chair, your next testifier is Debbie Ward. Debbie, if you could please unmute your mic and provide your testimony. You have 3 minutes starting now.
See there. Does that work now? Okay. My name is Debbie Ward. I live in Farm in Curtistown, and I'm testifying on Communication 301. I'm a neighbor of Mary Rose Krigsman, a co-founder of Hawaiʻi Rainbow Friends Sanctuary. And I'm aware that a large number of accusations have been hurled in both social media and letters to the county. And unfortunately, these appear to be a concerted effort to discredit the contracted animal control vendor. And the damage to facilities, equipment, and reputation caused by a few disgruntled individuals cannot be repaired. But HRR did make a good faith effort to remedy the issues in the county contract despite the difficulties. I've spent time at the Kipimana facility, and while it was not an ideal location, the animals were safe, fed, clean, and cared for appropriately. And now the contract's been canceled, the County of Hawaii is left with no identified animal control entity. The animals in the care could be left in limbo, and those lost or strayed during fireworks are now the responsibility of our trained police officers to gather and care for. The County of Hawaii has, by canceling the contract of a responsible entity, now shoulders the burden without facilities or a plan. How on earth did this happen? I've learned that the same individuals who made the false accusations and spurious claims are now the very same people who've been hired by the county to oversee the transition. I'd ask that the county conduct an inquiry into the fact-checking, the vetting, and the hiring of these individuals. I think the county should give deeper consideration to the facilities for housing animals in its custody, including considering the purchase of county-owned facilities, such as the one they own in Kona. Barking Kennels is up for sale, and I think the county should consider such a purchase. I think the county needs to understand the cost of running the animal control services that it charged HRR with, and to understand that sufficient funds need to be allocated to cover the cost of extensive services the public expects. I welcome the council's review of the HRR circumstances, and I can only hope that the folks that contributed to the problem are not given the soapbox. They spread a campaign of false and demeaning allegations and provided no useful care or assistance. The fact that the county professed to extend the contract by a year and then rescind it 2 weeks later without a hearing left the staff in fear and disarray. It's left the vendor with a high level of expense, uncompensated, a lease that needs to be rescinded, and employees with an uncertain future. The county acted with disregard to our community and the animals by making abrupt and poorly informed decisions based on false allegations. Mary Rose stepped up to help when the Humane Society did not bid for the county contract. She had been running a no-kill facility successfully for 20 years and felt she could assist the county in filling the vacuum. She ended up spending her own money to provide under-allocated services, and all she got for the generous and good faith effort was a dismissal from the mayor that the community and animals deserve better. This is an insult where thanks should be more appropriate, and recompense. And I can only hope that the county now discovers that the task is far greater than the budget allocated by the council for the job. Thank you for this opportunity to share my observations.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Your next testifier is Omega Spells. Omega, if you could please unmute your mic.
Hi, the next testifier is Omega Spells. Omega, please unmute your mic. You have 3 minutes starting now.
Aloha, members of the Hawaii County Council. My name is Omega Spells. I was hired as an animal protection officer by HRR prior to the contract being terminated. I am also a 6-year Army veteran. I am also post PC 832 certified, which is a peace officer in the state of California. When I got to this island, there was a dog down the street from my house who was living in very inhumane conditions. And that is what prompted me to want to pursue a career in do humane work. So I waited and called it in to the Humane Society about the dog. Well, the dog was not handled. I became a humane officer for HRR. And as I was employed there, I could not, personally go to this person's house and free the dog because it would have been a conflict of interest because I live on the same street. But to make a long story short, I got together with some of my constituents and got the dog freed and taken care of. And I passed by that dog daily, and that dog has been set free and remains free. And every time I see that dog, it reminds me of why I took this job as animal protection officer for HRR. When I was there, several occasions by my shelter manager, Sharice, she used to express her disdain for law enforcement. She used to make all sorts of claims that, Omega, for your people, you shouldn't be involved in a law enforcement job because, law enforcement started as slave catchers. I am an African-American man, the only African-American man that is in the Humane Society there at HRR. And the Aina, the Hawaiian Islands that I have come to know, love, and respect, we don't have those kinds of problems there. So I just dismissed it. And I would hate to come to find out that I was being racially discriminated against. And the only thing that I am asking this committee to do is just to launch an investigation as to what happened. Why were we not informed of anything? We were never fired. We just want to be reinstated so we can continue to do our jobs properly. Mahalo.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Chair, your next testifier is Tina Bounds. Tina, if you could please unmute your mic and provide your testimony. Your time starts now.
Aloha, Chair and Council members. I'm Tina Bounds, and my testimony today is regarding Communication 301. I worked for HRR as a contractor managing the spay and neuter programs. No cost Frequent and convenient spay and neuter clinics for dogs and cats are critical in reducing the animal population humanely. During the 9 months of HRR's operations, approximately 4,000 surgeries have been performed, drastically reducing the potential puppies and kittens being born. The county funds 300 surgeries per month, and our nonprofit animal welfare partners provide the rest. Nathan Winograd of No Kill Advocacy came here a few years ago to deliver a no kill conference pro bono in Kona. He did an assessment of the island animal population and determined the strategy we needed to implement. In 4 years, the island can have a sustainable animal population humanely. In year 1, 3,500 spay neuters need to be done for dogs, about 30%, and cats, 70%. Year 2, 5,000 spay neuters. Year 3, 7,500 spay neuters. And year 4, 10,000 spay neuters. This must be done for mostly the unowned animals who are stray, lost, or abandoned. For cats, colonies must be target for the spay neuter to get to zero population growth. When the animal population is sustainable in 4 years, spay and neuter surgeries must be maintained in hot spots. HRR has begun to make a dent in the colonies, finding more and more abandoned animals. I'm very concerned that the animal control contract was canceled when we were making good progress. I request full review of the process, criteria, and the issues that led to the cancellation of the animal control contract. Mahalo.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Chair, your next testifier is Sabrina Martino. Sabrina, if you could please unmute your mic and provide your testimony. Your time starts now.
The city council. I'm calling just because I think we need to come up with a solution for the animals. There are a lot of strays, and people who are trying to help these animals are unable to access any resources for HPD, and nobody is able to help them. You look online, there's no place available to get any resources for all these strays that people are finding, and a lot of people just can't keep them with their living situation. They're renting and animals aren't allowed there. So I just am here today to ask to please expedite a solution before the problem gets even bigger. Mahalo.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Chair, your final testifier is Inga Gibson. Inga, if you could please unmute your mic and provide your testimony. Your time starts now.
Aloha mai kako. Thank you. Inga Gibson of Pono Advocacy. I've been in animal protection, sheltering, and policy work for the last 25 years. And just want to really encourage the county and the council and the mayor to use the due diligence that unfortunately was not employed when this contract was first awarded. There's a lot of information that was not ever pursued. There was no assessment. There was no capacity needs assessment conducted. All of these are important critical factors in awarding a contract. I feel that that was not done initially, and that is in part why we are where we are here today. If you look at the statistics that have been posted by Best Friends, even they are not able to answer a lot of questions as to what does it really mean to have a 90% live release rate. I've encouraged the mayor, the police department, and now the council to bring in a third party, a neutral expert to perform an assessment, not only to look into the allegations that have been raised, but also to look at what the community needs. Prior to the contract being awarded to HRR and Best Friends, 700 to 900 animals were being taken in through HIHS. When the contract went over to HRR, you were looking at about 250 to 300 animals. The question is, where did those animals go? Those animals were abandoned in the community. The community was left without the resources needed. I know that no kill is a term that we all would like to achieve. We would like that no animals are euthanized due to space, due to treatable behavioral or medical conditions, but there is much more that demands to be looking into regarding what the community needs. You cannot go no kill overnight. You cannot stop accepting animals overnight. The community needs these resources, and a plan, a strategic plan, a multi-year plan must be put in place. So I urge the county, the council, to use their due diligence and really researching what funds are needed, what staff is needed, the level of capacity. Some of the shelters that were used at Kipimana and others were never acceptable to serve as animal shelters. We were warehousing the animals. And again, having worked in animal protection and with Humane Society of the United States for the last 13 years, I urge the county and the council to proceed cautiously and really to look into bringing in a third-party consultation before moving forward and making another unfortunate decision that will ultimately impact the community and its animals. So mahalo for your time, and I'm happy to provide any assistance to the county council moving forward. Mahalo.